You play better in practice than in matches, and the reason has nothing to do with your technique, nothing to do with your fitness, nothing to do with how hard you've been working. The gap between who you are on a practice court and who you become the second a score starts mattering is one of the most frustrating things in tennis. And almost nobody explains what's actually causing it. Because it's not nerves, not exactly. It's 5 specific things that happen to your brain and your body when the context changes from practice to competition. And once you understand each one clearly, you can actually start fixing them. This video is going to explain all 5. Let's get into it. 1. In practice, you're free. In matches, you're protecting something. Here's what changes the moment a score starts mattering. Your brain switches jobs. In practice, the job is to play well. Hit the ball cleanly, work on the patterns, try new things, see what happens. There's no cost to missing. There's no consequence to taking a risk that doesn't come off. Your brain is completely focused on the process of playing tennis because there is nothing else to focus on. In a match, the job changes. Without you even deciding it consciously, your brain stops trying to play well and starts trying not to lose. And those 2 jobs feel similar, but they produce completely different tennis. When you're trying to play well, your swing is full, your decisions are clear, and you go for shots you've trained because your brain has nothing to protect. When you're trying not to lose, your swing gets shorter because shorter feels safer. Your margins get bigger because big margins feel less risky. Your shot selection gets conservative because anything creative feels like a gamble. And the cruel part is that the more you try not to lose, the more you actually lose. Because the tennis you produce in protection mode is not your tennis. It's a watered-down version that isn't good enough to beat the player in front of you and isn't satisfying enough to keep your confidence from slowly draining away through the match. The fix is not to care less. You're going to care, that's fine. The fix is to change what your brain is protecting. Instead of protecting the result, protect the process. Your job in a match is not to win. Your job is to execute what you've trained on every ball. That's it. The score is a side effect of doing that job well, not a thing you manage directly. When your brain knows what it's actually supposed to be doing, it stops clenching around the result. And when it stops clenching, the swing comes back, the decisions come back, and your real game shows up instead of the scared version of it. 2. You think too much between points and not enough before them. In practice, your mind is quiet. The ball comes and you just hit it. You're not narrating the session to yourself. You're not replaying the last ball or worrying about what happens if you miss the next one. You're just in it. And that mental quietness is actually a big part of why practice feels easier and your shots come out cleaner. In matches, that quietness disappears the moment you walk onto the court. Between every single point, your brain fills the space with noise. You replay the error you just made. You calculate what the score will be if you lose this game. You notice your opponent looks confident and start wondering what they're thinking. You tell yourself to just relax and then immediately feel more tense because of it. By the time the next point starts, you've already been somewhere else entirely for the last 20 seconds. And you arrive at the ball, distracted, half a step slow, with a head full of information that has zero use to you right now. Here's what's happening. Between points in a match, your brain has nothing to do and nowhere to go, so it wanders into the worst possible places, the past and the future. The last mistake and the next consequence, both of those places are useless to you during a match. The only place that matters is right here, right now, this point. The way to train this is not to think better between points. It's to give your brain something to do so it stops wandering. A physical routine, the same 4 or 5 actions between every point, occupies the brain just enough to keep it from spiraling. Walk to the baseline at the same pace. Look at your strings. Take one slow breath. Decide one thing about the next point. That's it. Small, specific, consistent. Your brain stays tethered to the present instead of drifting into the replay and the doomsday forecast. And you arrive at the next point actually ready for it instead of still processing the last one. And if you want to take your tennis to the next level, check out the Tennis Master Pack. A pack that includes the Elite Player Guide with technical and tactical tips, the Become a Pro Guide where you'll learn how to become a pro tennis player, a full week fitness routine to take your fitness to the next level, and a prevention routine to prevent injuries and enhance recovery. This pack already helped hundreds of tennis players. Get your clicking on the link in the description. Let's continue with the video. 3. Your practice doesn't simulate pressure. This one is the most honest of all 5. And it's uncomfortable to hear, because it means the problem isn't just mental, it's structural. Built into how most people practice. Hitting cleanly when nothing is on the line is genuinely easy, or easier, at least, Your technique is not being tested under stress. Your breathing is normal. Your grip is relaxed. Your contact point is consistent because your body is calm and doing what you trained it to do. Great. But the moment real pressure shows up, a tight score, an important point, someone watching, all of those physical things change. Your breathing quickens, your grip tightens, your swing shortens, your contact point shifts, and your technique, which was built entirely in calm conditions, has no experience handling any of it. The first time your body encounters real competitive pressure should not be in a match. It should be in practice. You have to build pressure into how you train. Not occasionally, not once in a while, regularly. Every session at some point, something needs to be on the line. It doesn't have to be big. Compete with your hitting partner for games. Give yourself a challenge where missing 3 in a row means you start over. Play practice. Sets where the loser does something the winner decides. Force your nervous system to experience what competition feels like in a controlled environment so it starts building tools to handle it. When you practice under pressure enough times, your technique starts to hold up under pressure. Not perfectly, but noticeably. Because your body has been there before. It knows what the tightness feels like, and it knows it can still function through it. That knowledge is not something you can think your way into. You have to earn it by going through it repeatedly in practice before it counts. 4. You change your game the moment you feel the match slipping. This one is so common that it almost defines recreational tennis, and it makes everything worse every single time it happens. In practice, you play your game. The shots you've built, the patterns you trust, the decisions that feel natural to you. But in a match, the moment things start going wrong, you drop a set, you lose a few games in a row, your opponent starts finding their level. Nessa, something kicks in. You start experimenting. You start trying shots you haven't trained. You change the tactical plan you came in with. You try going to a different side of the court than you normally would. You attempt a serve motion you saw in a YouTube video 3 weeks ago. You improvise. And it never works. Not because those changes are bad ideas in theory, but because under pressure you can only execute what's already automatic. You cannot learn a new pattern in the middle of a match. You cannot override muscle memory with a tactical decision when your nervous system is already stressed. The only things that work under pressure are the things that are so well trained they happen without thinking. Everything else falls apart. The rule is simple and hard to follow. In a match, you play your game even when your game isn't working. You fix the execution, the depth, the spin, the margin, but you don't change the game. If you built your game around cross-court forehands and consistency, that's your game on a good day and on a bad day. You don't abandon it because you lost a set. You get better at executing it under pressure. That's the only path through. Changing ships in a storm doesn't get you to shore faster. 5. Practice builds your shots, but matches require a completely different skill. This is the one that most players and most coaches don't spend nearly enough time on, and it explains why someone can have a beautiful practice game and a completely average match game, almost indefinitely, no matter how much they train. Competing is a skill, not a natural state you settle into when the technique is good enough. Not something that just happens when you practice enough. An actual, trainable, developable skill that has its own set of components. Emotional regulation, attention control, decision-making under stress, resilience after bad points. And none of those components are built by hitting. Cross-court forehands for 2 hours. You can have the best forehand in your club and still not be a good competitor, because the forehand is a technical skill and competing is a mental and emotional one. They don't automatically transfer to each other. A player with an average forehand and well-developed competitive skills will beat a player with a great forehand and no competitive skills most of the time. Not because technique doesn't matter, because competing is what decides whether your technique shows up when it counts. Until you start treating competing as something you actually need to train, through pressure practice, through match play analysis, through intentional mental routines. The gap between practice and matches is going to stay exactly where it is. Not because you're not good enough, because you've been training the wrong thing to close it. So there are your 5 reasons. You switch from playing to protecting the moment the score starts. Your brain fills the space between points with noise instead of stillness. Your technique has never been stress tested because your practice doesn't have enough pressure in it. You abandon your own game the moment things get hard, and competing is a skill you've never actually trained. The good news is that every single one of these is fixable. Not overnight, but fixable. Start with 1. The between-point routine, the pressure drills, the commitment to your game plan no matter what. Any of these will start moving the needle faster than hitting another 1,000 practice balls in a calm, comfortable, consequence-free session. Your game is already good enough. The competition side just needs to catch up. That's what Blue Tennis Dude is here for. Drop a comment telling me which of these 5 hits closest to home for you. I'm reading them. And subscribe if you want to keep getting better one clear idea at a time. See you in the next one.